And when I asked him about what makes a good communicator, he said for him, the most important thing was to have an open mind, to make sure that you're calm even though a person says something offensive, and ethics. That's it.
Right, so to like jump off with Andy's, I also did the other part of college radio here at Maryland. Did anyone know that there is a radio station in Maryland? Oh, okay, well I didn't. And it's WMUC 88.1 FM. I interviewed the general manager, Scott Maxwell. He's a math major, so after he graduates, he has nothing to do with radio or anything like that. He began as a freshman as our operations DJ, just trying to get involved in campus on one of like the different types of clubs and activities offered here. He's a volunteer and is there every day. In fact, WMUC is a student organization, so everyone there is an undergrad and volunteers, and he says that that is such a benefit to the environment because everyone wants to be there compared to a professional environment where everyone has to be there. So there's many creative ideas flowing, and students like come up with the craziest ideas. There's even a show that has video game music is like the only thing. So there's just like crazy ideas like that. The university is hands-off, so there's lots of freedom internally and externally. The university owns the radio broadcasting title, but the station gets to do whatever they want, and then internally each DJ basically gets their own show for 2 hours a week, and they can do whatever they want. Creativity runs wildly there, he says. So WMUC is also very involved on campus. They come to many school-wide events, including playing music at the diner in South Campus late nights. So then he was talking about how campus radio isn't as dominant a form of communication as it used to be, like in the 1970s, 1980s. And so they've adapted to this by having podcasts and online live streaming. So basically you can either listen online or you can download the podcast off like an MP3 type of medium, and you can listen to it, and it won't be live, but you can still listen to it. And through those two different types of sources of getting the radio, there's evidence that this radio station actually does have an impact on the campus community. And then also, a huge part of my interview with him was the importance of communication in college radio and the benefits of being involved in college radio. So first of all, he says, like I said, there's lots of freedom internally and externally, but also it prepares you for the real world, as in it's a live show, so you have to have really good public speaking abilities. You have to think, or you have to talk on your feet. Also, you learn to talk fluidly. He even gave an example of a freshman 2 years ago who came right from Shanghai, China, and this year he's a junior. He has his own show, so it really shows that public communication skills can be learned through radio broadcasting. And then also very importantly, you have to listen actively. There's no time on the air to be like to your co-host or to a caller that calls in, what did you say? You have to be able to listen actively as well as come up with a response. You have to think before you talk. Since people cannot see you, you have to say like what you mean concretely, and hopefully there isn't any miscommunication. And you also have to appeal to a wide audience, so you can't say anything that would make any audience members mad or anything that's very controversial.
Okay, just to reiterate some of the communication aspects that everyone's brought up. It's very important in radio. Nonverbal communication does not exist. You don't have eye contact with the person, you can't see their gestures, and that's such a huge part of communicating that it makes your vocabulary and your syntax you're using, your tone, all very important, because you don't want to come across the wrong way on the radio to your listeners, or else no one's going to want to listen to you. And a lot of radio DJs, or all the good ones, use comprehension listening, which we learned a little bit about in this class. and which is recognizing the information and retaining it, and then you need to bring it back up again, especially if you're speaking, if it's an interview of some sort. And good DJs will use clarifying and confirming and bridging, where they ask the person they're interviewing additional information, and then they relate it back to like another part of the message. And other techniques they use are paraphrasing, which Brad kind of talked about. You have to make what you're saying really short. You have about 20 seconds to really get everything across. You can't go on and on. And verbal feedback, like if the person's talking, say, oh, okay, like right, like definitely, whatever. Not whatever, but and internal summaries. You'll kind of summarize what's been going on and stuff to keep the listeners like able to know what's going on. And just real quickly, I interviewed Adam Tuss of WTOP, which was a little different than everyone else's interviews. He's much more of a news reporter. He's on the radio all day talking about the goings on, traffic, or anything like that with the DC area. He did graduate from Fordham University with a degree in broadcast journalism. He started his career in New York City and low level, and then he moved on air in Wilmington, Delaware, and eventually moved down to the DC area. And he talked about basically what everyone else's people involved in radio have been talking about. Communication is just so important with your coworkers, the people you're interviewing, just being able to communicate to your listeners. It's really tough. You have to be very passionate about what you're doing to be able to do it. And I think finally we have one last.
Yeah, there are different kinds of technological developments in radio since it first developed. First one is satellite radio. Unlike traditional radio, people don't have to switch around channels to avoid commercials, because most satellite radio programs are commercial free. Secondly, there's no static in satellite radio because the signals are digital. Next is just iPods. The new iPods are now they send out radios, so you can listen to radios wherever you want. And these kind of developments are now like, they help radio like satisfy people's needs and help them not get pushed around by mass media such as TV.
And that's our recited list.
And 1, 2, 3. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
tuning
tuning
in.
in.
You
Stay
stay classy,
classy,
College
College
Park.